I live in a small town in northern Michigan. Not much ever happens here. It's the kind of place where people leave their doors unlocked, and everyone knows each other's dog by name. That's probably why what happened to me felt so out of place, like a splinter in your skin that you can't quite pull out. It started last summer. I was at a yard sale on the edge of town, one of those old houses with too much land and way too many things collected over the years. The woman running the sale was maybe in her 70s, wearing a sun hat too big for her face and sunglasses even though it was cloudy. I was just browsing, not really looking for anything, when I saw this necklace sitting in a glass ashtray. It wasn't anything special at first glance, just a simple silver chain with a small locket. But when I picked it up, it felt heavier than it should have. The locket had no engraving or design, just a smooth, flat surface. I opened it, expecting a photo, but it was empty. The old woman saw me holding it and smiled. "Beautiful piece, isn't it?" she said. "Yeah," I replied. "How much?" She paused, then said, "Take it, no charge." I tried to insist, but she shook her head firmly. Sometimes things find who they belong to. That should have been my first red flag, but I was more focused on the fact that I'd just gotten something for free. I slipped the necklace into my pocket and left not long after. That night I put the necklace on my dresser before bed. Around 2 a.m. I woke up freezing. I thought maybe I had left the window open, but when I checked, it was closed tight. The room felt wrong, like walking into a place after someone's just had an argument. The air was tense, and I couldn't shake this weird sensation that I wasn't alone. I tried going back to sleep, but kept hearing these faint noises. Soft clicks, like metal tapping against wood. I turned on the light and looked around, but nothing seemed out of place. I even checked under the bed like a kid afraid of monsters. Then I looked at my dresser. The necklace wasn't where I left it. It was on the floor, about a foot away from the dresser's edge, the locket open. I know how that sounds. It probably slipped off, or maybe I bumped the dresser earlier and it eventually slid off. I told myself that. It helped me fall asleep. But the next morning, the locket had something inside it. A photo. A small, grainy, black and white picture of a woman, late 30s maybe, with sunken eyes and tightly pulled back hair. She wasn't smiling. Her expression was blank, but her eyes looked like she knew something awful, like she'd seen something no one should see. I don't own a printer. And I sure as hell didn't put a photo in that locket. I didn't wear it. I kept it on the dresser. I even put it in a drawer. But every night I would wake up freezing cold, and each time, that necklace would be somewhere else in the room. On the floor, on the nightstand. Once, it was hanging from the doorknob on the inside of my bedroom door, locket open, staring at me like an eye. One night I tried locking it in a shoebox and stuffing it in the closet. But at 3 a.m., the closet door creaked open on its own. I stared at it from bed, not breathing. There was no wind, no draft. And I swear, I heard soft, deliberate footsteps inside my room. Not across the floor. Just one step. A pause. Another step. Like someone barefoot was walking just out of sight. I didn't sleep at all that night. And in the morning, I found the necklace hanging from my ceiling fan. That was the last straw. I drove out to the yard sale house that day, planning to give it back. But the house looked abandoned. Overgrown grass, boarded up windows, like no one had lived there for years. I even asked a neighbor who was watering his lawn. He looked at me strange when I asked about the woman. "This place?" he said. "No one's lived there since the fire, about 5 years ago. Apparently the woman who owned the house died inside. Her body was found upstairs. They said it looked like she'd been trying to get out, but the hallway collapsed. The fire was blamed on old wiring, but some people said it started in her bedroom closet, with an old lamp or something. I don't know if it was her in the picture, But the necklace's weight started to make sense. It wasn't just heavy, it felt full, like it was holding on to something that didn't want to let go. I didn't take it home. I drove to the edge of Lake Huron and tossed it into the water. But I don't think that was the end of it. Because sometimes at night, I still wake up cold, and sometimes I hear that same soft clicking sound, metal tapping against wood. I haven't seen the necklace again. But a few days ago, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just a small envelope. Inside was a photo. That same black and white photo of the woman, but this time she was smiling. I moved into a small apartment last year, just outside of Chicago. It wasn't anything fancy. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, tiny kitchen. But it was all I could afford. The building was old, probably from the 60s, and had this weird stale smell that never quite went away, no matter how many candles I burned. The apartment came partly furnished, which was actually a big reason I took it. There was an old wooden dresser in the bedroom, a few lamps, and a tall mirror screwed into the wall beside the closet. The mirror had a thick gold frame and some scratches on the glass, but I liked it. It gave the room some character. In the top corner of that mirror, I noticed something during my first week. There was a tiny hook, like one meant for hanging a necklace. And on that hook, someone had left behind a necklace, a thin chain with a heart-shaped pendant. It was silver and simple, but I liked the way it caught the light. I assumed the last tenant had just forgotten it. I didn't wear it, but I didn't throw it away either. I just left it hanging there. It somehow fit with the mirror. That's when small things started to happen. The first thing I noticed was how the mirror didn't always show exactly what was in the room. I'd be brushing my teeth in the bathroom, glance toward the bedroom, mirror in the hallway, and swear I saw something move inside it, like someone walking past my bed. But when I turned to look directly, there was nothing. At first, I thought I was just tired. Then came the sounds. Late at night, while lying in bed, I'd hear light tapping. Just 2 or 3 soft clicks. At first, I thought it was coming from the radiator, but one night I realized it was coming from the mirror. More specifically, from the necklace swinging gently on its hook. I watched it from bed one night, completely still, yet the pendant moved side to side like someone had just touched it. The next morning, I took the necklace down. I wrapped it in a washcloth and put it in the drawer of the dresser. I figured that would stop whatever was going on. But the next night I woke up to a strange sound. It was this soft scratching, like nails lightly scraping across glass. I turned on the light and froze. The necklace was back on the hook. It was hanging exactly the way it was before, the pendant swaying, even though the windows were closed, and there was no fan running. I didn't understand how that was possible. I knew I put it in the dresser. I even checked. The washcloth was still there, empty. I tried ignoring it. What else could I do? I wasn't going to call the police and say, "Hey, my mirror necklace is moving on its own." Things got worse. After that, sometimes when I walked by the mirror, I wouldn't see myself right away. There'd be a brief delay, like the reflection had to catch up. Other times, my reflection looked slightly off. My smile didn't match. My eyes looked like they were staring too long. Just wrong. One night, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at myself, and said, "Who are you?" I wasn't expecting an answer, but the light bulb above the mirror flickered right then, and the necklace fell from the hook. It didn't drop straight down. It swung outward, like someone had pulled it, and then it crashed into the floor with a loud clang. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch with every light in the apartment turned on. The next morning, I took the necklace and walked a few blocks to a pawn shop. I asked the guy working there if he'd take it. He held it up, looked at it for a moment, then frowned. "Where'd you get this?" I told him I found it in the apartment. He shook his head slowly and pushed it back to me. "Keep it," he said. "This isn't something I want in here." That only made things worse. I went home and tried to throw it out. I tossed it in the dumpster behind the building. I watched it fall in. But the next day, it was back, hanging on the hook, like it had never left. That night, I covered the mirror with a towel and taped the edges down. I didn't want to see it anymore. I didn't want to risk catching something out of the corner of my eye. I woke up around 3:30 in the morning. The towel was on the floor, and something was written in the fog on the mirror, like someone had breathed on it. It said, "You're not alone." I moved out a week later. I told the landlord I had a job offer in another city. I didn't mention the mirror. I didn't mention the necklace. I just left. A few days after I moved into my new place, I got a package. No return address, just a small cardboard box. I opened it slowly, already nervous. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was the necklace, and a small sticky note that said, "You forgot this." I threw it in the river near my new apartment that same night. But now, every mirror in my new place feels wrong, like something's waiting on the other side. And every morning, I check the bathroom, just to make sure the necklace isn't back. So far, it's not. But I still feel like something's watching me, every time I look into the glass. A few months ago, I was driving back home from a weekend trip. It was late at night, and I was exhausted. I decided to stop at a small roadside motel to rest for a few hours before continuing my drive. The motel looked old, the kind with faded signs and a gravel parking lot, but it was quiet and cheap, so I checked in. The woman at the front desk was polite, but didn't say much. She gave me a key to room 12, warning me the heater was a bit noisy but would work. I didn't mind. I just wanted to sleep. When I got to the room, it smelled like old smoke and something else I couldn't place. The bed was worn but clean, and there was a small nightstand with a lamp and a drawer. On top of the nightstand, something caught my eye. A silver necklace with a small, cross pendant. It looked like it had been left there for a long time. The chain was tangled, and the pendant was dull and scratched. I thought maybe the previous guest forgot it, but something about it made me uneasy. I picked it up and put it in my pocket. I figured I'd return it to the front desk in the morning. That night, I barely slept. Around midnight, I woke up to the heater making a loud banging noise. I got up and tried to fix it, but it just kept clanking and rattling like something was inside. Then I heard soft footsteps, slow, deliberate, walking from the bathroom to the bedroom. I froze. The footsteps stopped near the door. I stared, into the dark, heart pounding. I told myself it was the old pipes or the heater, but the steps sounded too real. I reached for my phone to turn on the flashlight, but it was dead. I must have forgotten to charge it. The heater slammed one more time, then went silent. I lay back down, but couldn't shake the feeling someone was still in the room with me. At about 3 a.m., I heard a whisper. It was so soft, I almost thought I imagined it. "Don't leave." I sat up, looking around, but the room was empty. The necklace in my pocket felt cold. I pulled it out and saw the cross pendant, and noticed it wasn't a cross at all. It was shaped like a small figure hanging, like a crucifix but twisted, broken. I felt sick. Suddenly, the door creaked open just a little. I jumped up and closed it quickly. I tried to call the front desk, but no signal. I was alone. The next morning, I left as fast as I could. At the front desk, I asked about the necklace. The woman frowned. "Oh, that. Some years ago, a man died in room 12. They said he hung himself." She didn't say more. I felt chills. I asked, if anyone found the necklace, but she just shook her head. I haven't gone back. But sometimes when I'm alone at night, I feel cold spots, like icy breath on my neck. And once, I swore I heard footsteps in my own bathroom. I don't know what was in that motel room, but I know the necklace wasn't just forgotten, it was waiting. I'm not really someone who believes in ghosts or anything like that, but what happened to me during my last year of college still haunts me. It all started with a necklace. A simple old necklace I found in the school gym locker room. I went to college in a small town. The gym was in an old building, the kind where the walls creak, and the floors have stains that never go away. The locker rooms were cramped and smelled like sweat and cleaning chemicals. I spent a lot of time there because I was on the college swim team. One afternoon, after practice, I was getting ready to leave when I noticed something hanging on the lock of one of the lockers. It was a necklace, just a thin chain with a small pendant shaped like an eye. The metal was tarnished, and it looked really old. At first, I thought maybe someone lost it, or it was some kind of prank. But no one claimed it, and it didn't belong to anyone I knew. I decided to take it home. I thought maybe it was cool or unique. It was kind of creepy, but interesting. The first night I wore it, nothing happened. I just liked how it looked. But then, strange things started. I'd come back to my dorm room after practice, and the necklace would be somewhere different. On my dresser instead of on my neck, or on the floor near the bed. I knew I didn't take it off, but every time I woke up, it was off. Sometimes it was on my pillow. Other times it was hanging from the light fixture above my bed. I started feeling watched, like someone was always just out of sight, watching me through the windows, or from the shadows in the room. One night, I woke up suddenly. The room was pitch black, but I could hear faint breathing next to me. I opened my eyes slowly. There was nothing there, but I felt cold. I reached out, and my fingers brushed the necklace. It was still around my neck. I pulled it off and set it on the bedside table. That night, I heard scratching noises coming from the locker room, even though I was in my dorm, miles away. It was a soft, scraping sound, like fingernails dragging across metal. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, but I kept hearing it every night, louder and closer. Then one evening, I went to the gym to grab my bag, and I saw something strange in the locker room. One locker door was open. Inside, the same necklace was hanging on the lock. But it wasn't mine. Mine was in my dorm. I felt my heart pound. I looked around, but no one was there. I closed the locker slowly and walked away. But I kept thinking about how the necklace got there when mine was still with me. After that, I stopped wearing it. The scratching sounds didn't stop. One night, I had a nightmare. I was back in the locker room, alone. The lights flickered. The necklace was swinging on the locker door, but the pendant was glowing faintly. Suddenly the pendant opened like an eye and I heard a whisper, "Look closer." I tried to look, but my eyes wouldn't focus. When I woke up, I felt something heavy on my chest. I looked down. The necklace was around my neck again. But this time, it felt tight, almost like it was squeezing. I tried to take it off, but my fingers trembled too much. I dropped it on the floor, and it hit the ground with a loud clink. That was the last straw. I took the necklace and threw it in the trash outside. I thought I was free. But every now and then, when I'm alone, I see a flash of that eye-shaped pendant in the corner of my vision. And sometimes, late at night, I still hear scratching, like something trying to get back in. This happened to me about a year ago. I was driving home late one night after visiting some friends in a nearby town. The roads were mostly empty, and the air was cold and quiet. It was the kind of night where the silence feels heavy, and every sound echoes. I was driving down a long, lonely road surrounded by trees. The only light came from my car's headlights cutting through the darkness. About halfway home, I noticed something shining near the edge of the road. I slowed down and saw it was a necklace, lying there on the gravel shoulder. It was strange to see a necklace on a quiet country road, so I stopped and got out. The necklace was simple, a thin gold chain with a small round pendant. The pendant looked old, covered in dirt and scratches, but it still shone faintly in the headlights. I picked it up, wiped off some dirt, and looked around. No cars, no houses, just the trees and the empty road. I thought maybe someone dropped it, so I put it in my jacket pocket, planning to turn it in somewhere if I could. Back in the car, I kept glancing at the necklace, feeling a little uneasy, but also curious. When I got home, I left the necklace on my kitchen table. That night, I barely slept. At about 2 a.m., I woke to the sound of soft tapping. It wasn't loud, but it was steady, like someone lightly knocking on the window. I sat up and looked over. The window was closed, and the night outside was still and dark. I told myself it was probably just the wind. Then I heard another noise. A faint scraping sound coming from the living room. I grabbed my phone to turn on the flashlight and slowly walked into the living room. Nothing was there. But the necklace was on the floor near the door. I could have sworn I left it on the table. I picked it up, feeling a chill run down my spine. The pendant seemed to catch the light differently now, like it was glowing faintly from the inside. Over the next few days, things got worse. Sometimes I'd hear footsteps outside my front door late at night. Soft, slow steps, pacing back and forth. Other times, I'd find the necklace somewhere different, hanging on the doorknob, draped over my couch, even once in the bathroom sink. I never touched it when I found it there. I just put it back on the table. One evening, I was sitting in my living room when I saw movement out of the corner of my eye. I turned and saw a figure standing just beyond the edge of my porch light. It was a man, tall and thin, wearing a dark jacket. He didn't move or say anything, just stared at the house. I blinked, and he was gone. That night, I had trouble sleeping. I kept hearing tapping, scratching, footsteps, all around the house. Then, the strangest thing happened. I woke up to a cold breeze on my neck. I reached up to touch it. The necklace was on me, around my neck. I was sure I hadn't put it on. Panic rose inside me. I tried to take it off, but it felt stuck. It wasn't tight, just like it was holding on. I looked in the mirror, and for a second, I thought I saw the man from the porch behind me watching. I spun around, but the room was empty. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I took the necklace outside and buried it deep in the backyard. I hoped that would be the end of it. But sometimes, when I walk outside at night, I feel like I'm being watched. And sometimes, just before I fall asleep, I swear I hear tapping on the window again. Like someone is still there, waiting.